Welcome to the iPad Possibilities Podcast, episode number 30, Weekly Thought, 3G Revelations. Welcome, and before we get started, I'd like to mention one last time before May 1st happens that the It's On My Way application, which sponsors this show, is on sale to celebrate the launch of the 3G iPad until May 1st, I believe. It's only 99 cents, so if you've been waiting, grab it now to help plan out your routes as you pick up your errands and all of those kinds of things. It's on sale now for 99 cents. Grab it today. Well, welcome, and this is Tim. I am the host of the iPad Possibilities Podcast, and you might be saying, why am I getting this on Friday if I'm just getting this through iTunes? Well, I decided I'd let this go a little bit early today for the iTunes people, as I did put out a video show the other day for the app people, so I hope you guys don't feel too bad about that. But there are some exciting things that I've discovered about the 3G iPad that I wanted everyone to be aware of as quickly as possible. So that is why this episode is out as fast as it is. What I've been doing is I have the iPad, the 3G iPad. It's in my hands now. I'm now syncing it up to iTunes with all my content and all of that. But before I did that, I had a set of questions I wanted to answer that I've been dying to find out. And I've answered those questions now. So the first question is this SIM card, this micro SIM card. Can I use this in other devices? Will it work? Will it not work? And I ran it through its paces. So the first thing I tried was I tried to take that micro SIM card out and put it in a MiFi, the MiFi 2372. It's optimized for AT&T's network, so you can get on eBay for about $300. And I wanted to see, could I use this SIM card in the that MiFi? Would it work? Would it not work? Would I need an adapter to do so? I did order an adapter to create a mini SIM out of that. And I found the adapter was, it worked okay. I actually had to shave down the adapter with a knife to get it to fit in correctly. But I found that I did not actually need an adapter to put this micro SIM card into the MiFi, right? So it just slid in there, and then the holder, the way the MiFi works, it held it perfectly in place. And happily, I can announce that, yes, the MiFi 2372 does work with this SIM card. I was able to use that to share the iPad's data connection to my other iPad and iPhones and all those devices, and it worked fantastic. I did have to switch over the APN to a different one called Broadband, which is the iPad's APN, and that's all I had to do. It's very simple, very easy. I must say, though, I just report this as someone testing it out, someone trying to find out what works, what doesn't work. I'm not having this said to make people want to do this or do this at all, because it would be against your contractual, it's not even a contract, but it would be against the terms of service in doing this. So I'm just reporting the facts, and it's up to you if you want to go that route or not. So I'm just letting you know what works and what doesn't work. So with that said, the MiFi and the micro SIM did work in combination as long as you line up correctly, and I did not even need an adapter to do this. Okay, now on to, can I use this micro SIM in the iPhones? And this is something I tested out on both the iPhone 2G and 3G. And both of these, they didn't work at all. Unfortunately, it did not work. I used an adapter to do so, and it recognized that the SIM card was there. It recognized the data number that it had, and all of those different things. But the problem was the iPhone and AT&T, it recognized that, hey, this is an iPad data plan, and we're not even going to let you get on Safari to do data stuff, right? It kept on asking me for the voicemail password and all those different things, and it simply did not work. It had several error messages that made it so you cannot use the iPad SIM card within an iPhone 3G, and then the 2G iPhone did not work at all. There was no way to change the APN settings to get all of those things configured, and it just simply did not recognize the card to my findings. Other people may find ways around that, but to my knowledge, the iPad SIM will definitely not work inside the iPhones. So that is important to note. Some other things to note is there are microSIM adapters available online now. The company I ordered from, actually, microsimadapter.com, it appears their website is offline. I'm not sure if that's because of overload of people trying to get adapters or because they just went out of business. So I can tell you the adapter I got, I had this trimmed down a little bit with a knife to get it actually fitting in there. It did eventually fit and worked well once it was in there. There are some other companies that do it much more reasonably priced. Just do a Google search for microSIM adapter and you'll find some companies, and you can get one. And they'll work quite well, but unfortunately it won't really help you right now. I have not tested. One other thing I'd like to test, but I'm not going to take the risk of, is actually cutting down an iPhone SIM card to put in this microSIM adapter so you can swap in between the devices. That, I would believe, would probably work, but I just have not done that. So that's kind of my reports on the iPad micro SIM card, how you can use it, and all of that. The process of getting it set up and all of that was very simple. As you probably have read, you just go to the settings app and you just put in your credit card information, and there's actually no tax at all, which just blew my mind because most things like this have heavy tax usage, right? So it's really $15 or $30, no tax at all. It's built into the price, however they're doing it. But that was a huge relief, as that can drive the price up, sometimes even $10 or so. So that was a good relief to find out. And there is airplane mode on the 3G iPad. And instead of iPad in the top left corner, now it says AT&T and gives you your bars and all of those great things. So that's kind of the 3G aspects and the microSIM aspects of the iPad. So I next wanted to test out some things I wasn't quite sure about. And the first thing I wanted to do was test out Netflix. Does Netflix run on the iPad 3G data connection? And I can say, happily, it does. So if you're an iPad 3G owner, you can very easily launch Netflix. You'll play your movies. They stream really fast, really great quality. And Netflix does run on the iPad 3G. You don't need Wi-Fi to do so. So that is incredible. Imagine a use case where you're driving around the road and your kids are in the back seat, and now you have access to all of Netflix content because of this. That's an amazing use case, and I think that's going to be incredible. Say you're sitting in the airport, same scenario. You have the iPad 3G. You can watch a movie there. It's a great use case, and I'm glad Netflix actually does run this. And this makes me believe that most of the iPad apps will actually run on the 3G data connection. They won't have the restrictions the iPhone does, simply because AT&T doesn't see it as much of a threat to their data connection, because not as many people use these, is their rationale, I believe. I did also test out Skype, and Skype, because it is an iPhone app, would not let me make a call on the 3G data connection, so that's a jailbreak opportunity there. And hopefully Skype gets updated for the iPad and they don't restrict it that way. I'm not sure if that'll happen or not. It'll be exciting to see with 4.0 coming out what they do with the iPad. It's one of those missing links in the iPad. I love a native Skype client. So that is something I've been waiting on, and I hope comes out pretty soon here. So one last test I did, and this is iBooks. This was a test I was very curious about, because Apple announced they're doing something pretty cool with the way iBooks is being run on the iPhone. And they announced that with 4.0, they're going to be wirelessly syncing the chapter location where you are in the book to your other devices. So your iPhone and iPad stay in sync wirelessly as far as how far you progressed in the books. And I was wondering, will this happen with if you have multiple iPads? Will it remember where you left off? Will it instantly download the books to your iPad? And I can say, very unfortunately, no. It didn't do that at all. In fact, it didn't even download Winnie the Pooh when I downloaded the app, which was very peculiar. So I did not get Winnie the Pooh when I downloaded iBooks on the iPad 3G. It might be limited to, I guess, one device. I don't know. I did not get any of the old books on there, I did see for a moment when I launched the iBooks a big list of books that I had downloaded for my original iPad, and it disappeared instantly. So it was pretty peculiar. So I'm syncing my iPad, and I'll know by the Sunday show if it syncs that chapter location. I'm sure it does via the USB sync, but it's very unfortunate it doesn't sync over the Wi-Fi. Hopefully that'll be a 4.0 feature that will come out. So those were some of my findings and questions I had. I was wondering, will this microSIM work in my iPhone, my MiFi? So I answered those questions, and will it work over the Netflix app? Will the 3G work over Netflix? And I answered that one quite well, very happily. And iBooks, that was my other question. If you have questions, I'd love to hear some questions you have about the iPad 3G. There's a lot of things that were left up in the air that now we have answers to. So send in your questions to 209-542-iPad and iPadpossibilities@gmail.com, and I'd be happy to answer you back and do that on the show and just an email itself. And one final thought on the iPad 3G. The size of the iPad is, as Ken Ray reported on his macOS Ken show, is slightly longer. That's right. I did a little side-by-side, put the two together as on top of one another, screen to screen, and the iPad 3G is literally just 1/10 of an inch longer. And I'm very certain of this. It wasn't just the human eye trying to see something. It was there was a bit of a difference in the length of the iPad. And the weight, it felt around the same weight. I guess Apple says it's 1/10 of a pound heavier, but I did not feel that much at all. So it is a little bit longer. So that was kind of an interesting thing to note. But yeah, I mean, it looks wonderful. I like the black bar at the top. Now with the Apple case on, the Apple case fits perfectly on, so I don't think cases will be a problem with the size difference. It's just a little oddity, I guess. I'm not sure why it is that longer, because it looks, I mean, it looks the same if you look at it, just by looking at the bars around it and everything like that. But yeah, those were my findings with the iPad 3G. And if you put the Apple case on, you don't see the black bar anymore, so you can really go, you can't tell, really, if you have a case on it, which is, I think, a good thing, probably. I don't know. It'd be kind of cool to see that black bar through there to show I got the 3G iPad. But yeah, those are my findings, and I hope these have helped you in your decisions of whether you would like to purchase the 3G iPad or the Wi-Fi iPad. I would recommend getting the 3G iPad just so you have that opportunity to get 3G data connection whenever you need it. I think it's a great ability to have, and that would be my recommendation. But I hope this helps you in deciding that. And yeah, once again, please send your feedback to iPadpossibilities@gmail.com. And if you'd like to support this show, you can do that in one of many ways. First off, in iTunes, simply review, rate the show in iTunes, and do all those wonderful things so others can discover the show as you have. And to monetarily support the show, you can do that in one of two ways, actually 3 ways. First off, if you don't already have the iPad Possibilities podcast app, purchase that. It's only $2.99, and with that, you get the shows 24 hours in advance, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and you also get special video episodes of the podcast. Our first episode went out a few days ago, comparing the Dadgy stylus with the Pogo stylus. So catch that in the podcast app for $2.99 in the App Store, called the iPad Possibilities podcast app. Secondly, you can make donations to the show by going to thepossibilitiesnetwork.com, go to the iPad Possibilities page, scroll down, help Tim buy an iPad, and that will help me fund this show and keep it up and running. And then lastly, and most importantly, I guess, is the premium show. This is the best way to support this podcast, by becoming a member of the premium version of the iPad Possibilities podcast. The premium show is only $10 a month, and that will give you access, as you do with the podcast app, to 24 hours in advance of the show. You get Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and you're able to access those shows on your computer on any device outside of the app now. So that's a great feature. You'll also get special video episodes only available as a premium member. You'll get HD versions of the video shows you receive in the podcast app. You'll get special extra episodes not available anywhere else in this premium version of the show. show. And a lot of other things you'll have access to as well as a premium member. So just go to thepossibilitiesnetwork.com, go to the iPad premium page, and find out all the information there. And all you have to do is scroll down, enter your username and password, and subscribe with PayPal. And it's only $10 a month, around 50 cents a show, to support the podcast and get all of those great extra features. Once again, I really appreciate your support in getting the premium show launched and up and running. And until Sunday it is, with the live show, this is Tim Chatton of the iPad Possibilities Podcast.